What if I told you there's a kind of intelligence so raw, so unsettling, that it doesn't fit neatly inside classrooms, textbooks, or lectures? An intelligence that isn't measured by degrees, diplomas, or the letters you attach to your name. This is not the intelligence society praises, the one that earns applause at graduation ceremonies or looks impressive on a resume. No, this intelligence is different. It's dangerous. It's the kind that, if taught openly, would shake the very foundations of society. Imagine entire systems of control collapsing overnight, power structures dissolving, and illusions people cling to suddenly stripped away. That's why it isn't taught in schools. That's why you've probably never been told about it. Because this intelligence doesn't make you smart in the conventional sense. It doesn't make you better at trivia games, or give you witty comebacks in a debate, or make you the person with the highest test scores in the room. Instead, it does something far more unsettling. It makes you unreadable. It makes you untouchable. It makes you someone who moves through the world like a ghost cloaked in shadows, always seen, but never understood. This isn't about memorizing facts. It's not about looking clever or knowing how to win arguments. That's the shallow pursuit of average minds. People desperate to appear intelligent rather than actually be intelligent. No, this is the intelligence Niccolò Machiavelli admired. The kind that doesn't sparkle or shine on the surface, it lurks. It hides in plain sight. It doesn't roar to be noticed, but whispers so subtly that everyone leans in, desperate to listen. This intelligence doesn't just play the game, it rewrites the rules while everyone else is still playing by the old ones, oblivious to the fact that the board beneath them has already changed. Master this, and the world will never look the same again. Because this intelligence doesn't simply protect you, it transforms you into something else entirely. It weaponizes you. It forges what I call the shadow mind. Picture this with me. A crowded room, filled with noise. Conversations overlap. Laughter fills the air. Glasses clink. Everyone is trying to be noticed, trying to prove their worth through words, wealth, or charm. And then, he enters. Not the loudest man, not the richest, not the most handsome. Yet something shifts. The atmosphere thickens almost imperceptibly. Conversations falter. Eyes flicker in his direction. A strange silence moves through the room. Unspoken but undeniable. That is presence. That is power. And it doesn't come from status, from appearance, or from money. It comes from a mind sharpened into a blade. A weapon honed by ruthless awareness and control. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear." But here's the unspoken secret he didn't spell out. If you master perception, you no longer need to rely on love or fear. You gain something far superior: control. Control of the narrative, control of the silence, control of yourself. And that, right there, is the essence of this dark intelligence. It's what separates those who bend reality from those who are crushed by it. It's why most people will never access it. Because here's the ugly truth. Most people aren't really living. They're reacting. They wake up and check their phones before they've even taken a breath. They scroll endlessly, obey without questioning, complain about circumstances while doing nothing to change them. They defend their illusions as if they were sacred treasures, clinging to fragile identities like children clutching toys. They argue not because they're strong, but because they're weak. They raise their voices because silence terrifies them. They project confidence while their foundations are made of sand. Watch them closely, and the cracks begin to show. the insecurities, the desperation, the quiet panic hidden behind forced smiles and loud laughter. That's where the shadow mind begins, not with more knowledge, not with memorized facts, but with ruthless observation, with the ability to see what others can't see, to hear what others ignore. When someone speaks, the average person hears only the words, but the one with shadow intelligence hears the tremor inside those words, the lies trembling beneath the surface. The average person looks at faces and sees expressions, but you'll see the micro expressions, those tiny involuntary flickers of fear, anger, or desire that no one can control. The average person sits in silence and feels awkward. You'll sit in silence and wield it like a weapon, letting it expand until the other person cracks under the weight of their own unease. Most men think intelligence is about having the right answers. They couldn't be more wrong. The truly dangerous mind understands that the real power lies in the questions. Questions reshape conversations. Questions create uncertainty. Questions bend the flow of thought. The man who knows how to ask the right questions doesn't need to prove his intelligence. He controls the stage without lifting his voice. And here's the secret that stings. People don't want to admit how predictable they are. They don't want to face the fact that their behavior, their words, even their emotions, can be read and manipulated by someone who sees clearly. But once you master this kind of perception, you can never go back. The world looks different. Every room, every conversation, every interaction is layered with hidden meaning, silent tells, and openings you can exploit if you choose. It's like stepping behind the curtain of life and seeing the machinery at work. You stop reacting. You stop being controlled by impulses. And instead, you learn to control. That's why this intelligence is feared. That's why it's not spoken about openly. Because once you cultivate it, you stop playing by their rules. You stop being part of the herd. You become the unseen force that shapes outcomes while others are busy performing on the surface. This is the beginning of the shadow mind. And once you see it, once you feel it, you can't unsee it. But this is just the surface. Because the deeper truth is even darker. It isn't just about reading people or mastering silence. It's about dismantling illusions, starting with your own, and that is where we move next. And so, as we saw before, true intelligence is not about piling up answers, it's about wielding the right questions. This is the first transformation. At the beginning, people might label you as quiet. They won't realize that your silence isn't emptiness, it's focus. You're listening harder than they have ever listened in their lives. You hear layers beneath the words, echoes beneath the laughter. You notice the man who cracks too many jokes. To others, he seems funny, charming, lighthearted. But to you, you see what's really there. The desperation hidden in his smile. The hunger for approval behind every punchline. You notice the woman who boasts endlessly. She may look confident to the crowd, but you see through it. Her bragging isn't strength, it's insecurity bleeding through every word. And then there's the betrayer. Most people won't notice him until it's too late. But you'll see it beforehand. You'll notice the nervous glance, the hesitation before he speaks, the sudden shift in tone. You'll recognize the subtle delay before he answers a question. All the signals are there for the eye that has learned to see. This is how it begins. You're not becoming smart in the childish, schoolboy sense. You're becoming faster, sharper, 5 seconds quicker to respond, 5 steps ahead in every game. And when you're 5 steps ahead, your enemies never even realize they've already lost. These are the traits of dangerous intelligence. And Machiavelli himself would insist that if you want to become truly and dangerously smart, you must master them. 5 lethal traits. Trait 1. Emotional coldness. Your emotions are no longer your master. You don't suppress them, but you also don't let them control you. Instead, you study them. Your anger becomes analysis. Your fear transforms into foresight. Your sadness turns into strategy. While others explode in anger or drown in despair, you calculate. That's why your silence feels heavy. That's why people panic when you don't react. In your stillness, they sense your mind sharpening like a blade. Trait 2. Surgical observation. You don't simply look at people, you dissect them. The trembling hands, the forced smile, the answer that comes too quickly, or the silence that lingers half a second too long. You register all of it. You don't need their confession, because you already know the truth. And here's what unsettles them the most. They feel seen. And being truly seen terrifies people far more than being hated. Machiavelli once wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." Once you understand this, betrayal will never shock you again. You'll expect it. You'll even be prepared for it. Trait 3. Controlled presence. When you walk into a room, you don't chase attention. You don't beg for validation. You move with intention, with purpose. People feel your weight before you've said a single word. Why? Because mystery is more powerful than noise. They can't read you. They can't predict you. And what people cannot understand, they fear. You don't dominate by being everywhere. You dominate by being rare. Rarity itself becomes power. Trait 4. Strategic speech. Most men talk to fill silence. But you speak to plant ideas. Every word you release is deliberate. Every pause carefully placed like a weapon. You don't waste time arguing. You don't push to convince. Instead, you craft your words in a way that makes people convince themselves. Your speech doesn't merely communicate, it infiltrates. It lingers. That's why conversations bend toward you. Not because you forced them, but because you guided them with precision. Trait 5. Ruthless self-reliance. This is the pinnacle. You stop needing anyone. You no longer chase approval, applause, or the understanding of others. You become the source of validation for yourself. And once a man reaches that state, he becomes untouchable. No guilt, no shame, no manipulation can reach him anymore. This is the silent transformation. Understand this. Becoming dangerously intelligent does not happen overnight. It is not a quick trick. It is a process of metamorphosis. Slowly, you stop being the man who reacts. You stop being the man who explains. You stop being the man who gets pulled into petty conflicts. You become something colder, sharper like a blade hidden beneath velvet. Others still think you are harmless. Still think you are quiet. Still think you are ordinary. But they have no idea they've been caught in your net all along. You've been positioning, observing, and studying for months, even years, and by the time they realize it, it's already too late. This is the true Machiavellian transformation. Not when you simply become smarter, but when you become dangerous. So, how do you use this intelligence in real life? Because dark intelligence is meaningless if you don't apply it. Here's how you can begin right now. 1. Control conversations without dominating them. Let others speak. Skillfully extract information. Ask questions that sound harmless but cut deep into the core. Don't reveal yourself. Guide them into revealing themselves. 2. Use silence as a weapon. Most people cannot endure silence. Wait, hold eye contact. Let them feel your stillness. They will end up talking more, exposing themselves, and even submitting without realizing it. 3. Mirror, then redirect. If someone is angry, reflect that energy back, then carefully twist it toward someone else. If they are proud, feed their pride until it pushes them exactly where you want. And what they'll never realize is that from the beginning to the end, you were the one pulling the strings. 4. Punish with absence, not with noise. When someone crosses you, don't argue, don't chase, don't explain. Disappear. Withdraw your presence. Nothing haunts a manipulator more than silence from the one. 5. Never reveal your full depth. Show 60%, hide 40%. Let them believe they've figured you out. Because when people feel safe, they grow careless. And when they grow careless, you win. This is the invisible battlefield of relationships. Here's the arena where most men stumble and fall. Relationships. The moment emotions step in, their intelligence steps out. They lose themselves. They beg for affection. They over-explain their mistakes. They hand over power in the name of love, loyalty, or the illusion of trust. They surrender not because they want to, but because they don't know another way. But the dangerously intelligent man, he never plays that game. He knows every connection, every conversation, every bond is still a negotiation. Every pause, every silence, every hesitation carries information. Every reaction is leverage. And because of that, he never chases. He never lowers himself into desperate arguments. Instead, he disappears, leaving a silence that grows louder than any speech could ever be. And in that silence, others feel his presence more than if he were shouting in their face. That's why people begin to shift their behavior around him. Not because he orders them to, not because he demands obedience, but because they feel something different. They recognize, deep down, that he cannot be controlled. They understand that being close to him is not a right, it's a privilege. And the moment they see this, he becomes untouchable. This is the final form. At this stage, you're not just intelligent, you are unreadable. You are unshakable. You are unstoppable. You've become the very fox Machiavelli admired. The one who triumphs not with the roar of a lion, but with the quiet strike of precision, leaving no trace behind. You win not by noise, but by silence. You dominate not through recognition, but through invisibility. This is the mind that doesn't need applause to prove its strength. The mind that doesn't need revenge, because revenge is too obvious, too loud. Instead, this mind erases people as if they never existed. And that is the highest form of dangerous intelligence. So understand this. Becoming dangerously smart isn't about learning what schools teach. It's about embodying the kind of intelligence they fear. The intelligence that unsettles, that rewrites the rules, that forces others to adapt to you without you ever lifting a finger. And if you've stayed with me until now, it means you're not just curious anymore. You're ready to stop being predictable, ready to stop being manipulated, ready to sharpen your mind into something untouchable, something dangerously intelligent. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more. I'll see you soon.